Tuesday, June 25th. In France, all hostilities come to an end at 1:35 in the early morning. The battle in continental Europe is over. The Panzer divisions continue their advance in the southwest along the Atlantic coast and reach the port of Royan on the estuary of River Gironde. From his headquarters in Brully-le-Péche, Hitler announces the ceasefire in France and proclaims the end of the war. "The German army has obtained the most glorious triumph in all its history," he exclaims. He orders all bells in Germany to be rung for a whole week and the railway carriage at Compiègne to be moved to Berlin as a sign of France's humiliation. At the same time, all monuments celebrating the French victory in World War I are to be destroyed. The Battle of France has cost the Allies more than 100,000 lives and nearly 2 million prisoners. The Germans, on the other hand, have lost 45,000 men. Furthermore, the French Air Force has been annihilated and the RAF has lost 1,000 planes. Prime Minister Marshal Philippe Pétain declares over the radio that the armistice has been harsh on us, but we have saved our pride and kept our strength. In London, Winston Churchill backs de Gaulle's words and declares in the House of Commons that Britain will help all the men and women who fight for the liberation of France. The British government considers that Operation Ariel is over, 220,000 Allied soldiers left in French territory having been successfully evacuated to Britain. In the Sea War, U-51, commanded by Dietrich Knorr, sinks the British ships Saranac and Windsorwood. Wednesday, June 26th. In Belgium, while his soldiers dismantle his headquarters in Brully-le-Péche, Hitler travels with his old comrades in arms, Max Amann and Ernst Schmidt, through the countryside of Flanders, recalling their time as soldiers in the First World War. Meanwhile, the German divisions enter Bordeaux. From Vichy, General Maxime Weygand sends a telegraph to General Charles Noguet, chief of the French forces in Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, reminding him that all forces must comply with the armistice, support Petain's government, and keep discipline. In Moscow, Vyacheslav Molotov, Commissar of Foreign Affairs, sends an ultimatum to the Romanian government calling on it to relinquish the territories of Bessarabia and the area north of Bukovina. He demands an immediate response. The behavior of Stalin does not please the Third Reich, but Russian occupation of these territories was part of the Nazi-Soviet pact. German Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop puts pressure on the Romanian government to give in to the Russian demands. The Japanese government recognizes Marshal Petain's executive as the only legitimate government of France. In India, conscription is enforced, while the Americans move some of their units of the Pacific Fleet to the Atlantic Ocean as a preemptive move. Thursday, June 27th. In France, the German panzer divisions arrive at Saint-Jean-de-Luz on the border with Spain, putting an end to the campaign. The German army has occupied 2/3 of France. As far as many French people are concerned, their army and its commanders have not known how to face the German invasion. Their elderly generals who boasted of their experience in World War I have proved to be bureaucrats and defeatists with little sense of military strategy and have been easily defeated by a group of young Nazi generals. In the north of the country, Luftwaffe technicians set up 2 radio stations in Brest and Cherbourg, which are to form part of their network in the offensive against Britain. In London, Churchill's government watches with horror as most of the French fleet, the fourth largest in the world at the time, falls into German hands. In response to this and the Italian declaration of war, the British leader decides to reinforce the Royal Navy in the Mediterranean, sending a naval task force, Force H, to the base in Gibraltar. In Moscow, Stalin's demands are met by the Romanian government, which cedes Bessarabia and northern Bukovina to the Soviet Union. For its part, Hungary claims Transylvania and the Banat of Temes War, while Bulgaria claims sovereignty over Dobruja. In Washington, envoys from Australia and Great Britain meet with the American Secretary of State, Cordell Hull. The British fear a Japanese offensive against their colonies in the Pacific and request help from the American government. Friday, June 28. Hitler begins what will be his only visit to Paris. The Nazi leader, accompanied by Ribbentrop, the architects Albert Speer and Hermann Gissler, and the sculptor Arno Breker, among others, land at the airport of Le Bourget at 5:30 in the morning. They travel through the deserted streets of the French capital and visit the Opera, the Champs-Élysées, the Arc de Triomphe, and the Eiffel Tower. At Les Invalides, the Nazi leader stands in silence for a few minutes at the tomb of Napoleon. "This has been the most important moment of my life," he comments. He orders the remains of Napoleon's son, the Duke of Reichstadt, to be brought from Vienna to lie beside his father. After taking in the view of the city from Montmartre, the group returns to the airport. In London, on Churchill's insistence, the House of Commons recognized General de Gaulle as the only legitimate spokesman of the French people. Help is also requested from the Australian government in reinforcing the Pacific colonies. In North Africa, the plane of the Italian governor of Libya, Marshal Italo Balbo, is brought down by friendly fire over Tobruk during a reconnaissance flight. The German fleet returns to port after completing Operation Juno during the Norwegian campaign. Almost half of its units have been lost. In the Sea War, U-102, commanded by Harr von Heidenfeld, sinks the British merchantman Castleton, and Fritz Julius Lemp's U-30 sinks the Janarth. Saturday, June 29. In London, the government continues to send its gold reserves out of the country. The merchant ship Esmeralda sets sail for Canada with thousands of crates full of gold. Former Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain denies rumors associating him with the move to sign an armistice with Germany, referring to the fact that he and Lord Halifax are still in the wartime cabinet. In Romania, thousands of refugees from the areas of Bukovina and Bessarabia arrive in the capital, Bucharest, fleeing the Soviet occupation, which has become a serious problem for the government. In Berlin, Hitler sends a telegram of condolence to Mussolini following the death of Marshal Balbo, in which he says it is a grave loss for Germany and the new Roman Empire. Luftwaffe planes attack strategic objectives in the Midlands and south of England, as well as in the islands of Jersey and Guernsey in the English Channel. In the Sea War, the British submarine Grampus, with a crew of 55 men, disappears in unknown circumstances. Meanwhile, U-26, commanded by Heinz Scheringer, sinks the merchant ship Fragula. Gunther Prien's U-47 sinks the British vessel Empire Tuken, and U-51, captained by Dietrich Knorr, sinks the Edgehill. Sunday, June 30th. German forces land on British territory for the first time when they occupy the islands of Jersey and Guernsey in the English Channel. In Berlin, Hitler names Hermann Göring Reichsmarschall, the highest position in Germany after the Führer. He later orders the requisition of all artworks in possession of the French state, along with private collections owned by Jewish families in the occupied country. At the same time, Heinrich Himmler presents a plan to repopulate Polish territory occupied by Germany. The land would be divided up among Wehrmacht and SS soldiers who have fought for 2 to 4 years. After visiting artillery emplacements on the Maginot Line in Alsace, the Nazi leader goes through the plan of invasion of Great Britain and the situation in the Mediterranean, North Africa, and the Middle East with the OKW command. In the United States, the Cameronia set sail from New York, loaded with 16 airplanes, built in America and destined for Britain. In London, the government creates the Special Operations Executive with the mission of sabotage and subversion behind enemy lines in Nazi-occupied territories. In the Battle of the Atlantic, U-26, commanded by Heinz Scheringer, sinks the Norwegian ships Balmora and Merkur. U-43, captained by Wilhelm Ambrosius, destroys the British vessel Avalona Star. Gunther Prien's U-47 sinks the Greek ship Georgios Kyrakides, and U-65, captained by Hans von Stockhausen, the British vessel Clan Ogilvy.